another different question. What would you do differently when negotiating a new contract to provide the coast with a fair service at a fair price? And Ms. Anderson, why don't you start that one?
I assume you mean how would I change the existing contract?
I assume if you disagree with what's been done, what would you do differently in negotiating a new contract to make sure that there was a fair service at a fair price?
Well, I believe that the board members who negotiated the contract, even when they added the 9 million points of Exhibit E, which makes ours, I believe, the largest contract in the state of California. Lots of little places to pick nits there, if you need to be picking nits, and they obviously do. I think the contract is fine. As far as I'm concerned, as a user of the services, they're living up to the contract to meet my needs, and they certainly are meeting them at a reasonable cost, and not the 1.7 estimated extra for a new standalone department.
Thank you. Mr. McIntosh, would you do anything differently to negotiate a new contract?
Well, I've been privileged to deal with 2 contracts in my time on the board. One is the CAL FIRE contract, which is non-negotiable. It's a state boilerplate contract. It's a state boilerplate contract. It is completely written by the state, and that is all the choice you have. There's an exhibit that's added that documents some of your agreements with the local agency. We've tried to make changes. We've written Sacramento asking for changes to that contract. It doesn't happen. The second contract I held with was the contract with Point Montero. Now, between 2 equal districts, you can do all kinds of things. You can write all kinds of agreements. You can work out your problems. You're going to negotiate a contract. You want to negotiate in a way that you can both write down what you need and what you want.
Thank you. And let's see. Mr. Riddell, would you do anything differently?
Well, since we're dealing with CAL FIRE, there's not too much you can do differently. I was on the Management Service Committee when we wrote this new Exhibit E, and I, for the life of me, don't see what the issue is. So what? It's the longest and most lengthy contract, Exhibit E, in the state of California. It protects our interests. I'm not here to represent CAL FIRE and protect their interests. I'm elected to represent Coastside's interests, so I don't have a problem with it. I'm sorry, I'm disappointed that CAL FIRE and other people do, because a large portion of that are excerpts from the California Fire Code, which I have to do regardless whether it's in our contract or not. So, and we also tried to put in if you don't provide the service, we're not going to pay you. And CAL FIRE wouldn't go along with it. Now, you have to ask yourself, why wouldn't they? If they're performing to the level they should, why would they have a problem with that clause?
Thank you. Mr. Alfano.
So the writing's on the wall. CAL FIRE's never done an actuary on the unfunded liability. It's in the hundreds of billions of dollars. If they decide to up our rate next month, next year, guess what? We take it. We can't negotiate. It's either a take it or leave it contract. It's what they offer us. It's ridiculous. Okay, so we're dealing with a situation here where we have an agency that dictates the level of service they're going to provide and what they're going to charge us. And we have an issue with that. We have to represent our constituents here. We need the best level of service, and if the costs keep going up, the last example was PLP days, 12 PLP days, personal leave program days. That cost to the district, $370,000, we had zero say in. Zero say. That's ridiculous, but it's something we have to deal with because we don't bargain with CAL FIRE. They bargain with their own employees. We have to deal with whatever the results are. It's an unfortunate situation.
And finally, Mr. McCusick.
Well, okay, the situation with the CAL FIRE contract is we're paying the state rate for the firefighters. That's the cheapest rate you can get anywhere in the state for pretty darn near. All right, and that means that we can't go wrong when we're negotiating with them because they can't charge us any more than they charge Weed, California for their fire service. Okay, so that's, if anything, CAL FIRE may be a little bit, I'm a little uneasy about how little we do pay for what the outstanding service we get is. And the other hand is if we go to this local option, we're going to be paying the San Mateo rate, which has got all of the cost of living rolled right into it and costs about twice as much as the CAL FIRE guys. So you can't ever win when you go to this standalone district. You say, holy smokes, how much is this costing now? That's what we're up against.